Welcome to Decoding the Keys to Health, a podcast dedicated to exploring health and wellness from a natural, holistic viewpoint. Join our host, esteemed nutritionist and New York Times bestselling author, Ann Louise Gittleman, along with James Templeton, a 35-year cancer survivor and the founder of Unikey Health, as they share their more than 5 decades of combined experience. In each episode, these luminaries of alternative healing will unpack the complexities of today's most challenging health issues, providing you with science-backed insights and wisdom you can trust. Whether you're embarking on a health journey, seeking to enhance your wellness, or simply driven by curiosity, you've tuned into the right resource. And now, let's delve in and decode the keys to health with Ann Louise and James.
Hello, everyone. This is James Templeton, founder of Unikey Health. It's great to be with you today, and welcome to Decoding the Keys to Health. And I'm very happy, as always, to be here with the First Lady of Nutrition, Ann Louise Gittleman.
Hi, James.
Hi, Ann Louise. It's always good to sit here with you and talk about all the things we've learned in the past. And you've got lots and lots of wisdom and experience, probably more than most people out there these days. And I mean, literally probably about 50 years of experience. I've got about almost going on 40 years of experience in health.
It's nearly a century.
Yeah. So
a century of health and healing, because we had the privilege of studying with the masters.
yes. And, you know, I met Ann Louise back in 1990. And Ann Louise was quite something. She was heavy duty into her writing career and writing health books, as you know, and she's written over 37 books, and some of them are New York Times best-selling books. And she's quite something, and so knowledgeable, and has a memory like no one I've ever known before. Remembers birthdays, remembers everything. I can't remember names half the time. She meets somebody one time and remembers their birth date and forever, for the rest of her days, probably. So she's quite something. So she's like a walking encyclopedia when it comes to health. And there's a lot of knowledge in her and in her brain. So that's what we're all about, is trying to uncover all of this information that needs to be shared with you. And that's what we're all about here. So today, we want to talk a little bit about one of the biggest issues that everybody seems to be having. For years, I did a lot of research with a specialized microscope that I have, and I saw different clients. And I wanted to do this because I wanted to see what really most people need as far as their health is concerned. And I learned right off from the beginning from one of my teachers, Dr. Robert Bradford, that the blood does not lie. And when you see something in the microscope, the type of microscopes that we used, and the one like I still have, you see things. You see a lot of the kind of the underlying causes of health issues in the majority of everyone. I mean, and we could just say in everyone, period. There's no majority, it's everyone. And the things that we see in more people than anything else, and we talked a little bit, the first podcast was parasites in your health, intestinal parasite issues. Not a lot of people are talking about that. We've been talking about that for many, many years, and that's what Unikey Health was basically started by using parasite remedies to help people overcome, as Ann Louise would say, these critters, and get stronger, and then they can be the healthy person that they desire to be. But today,
I think, James, it's important to let our listeners know we didn't just choose parasites because we're in love with worms. We chose parasites because it's the most immunosuppressive agent known to man.
Yes.
And if you're going to use a kind of hierarchy of detox. The first thing you do is detox parasites because they're so immunosuppressive. The second thing is yeast and fungus, which was the topic of our second episode. And now the third thing that you do after you clear out the parasites, the yeast, fungus, and mold, is you go to the heavy metals. And I'm not just talking about Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. Heavy metals, folks, is a big, big, big deal. Now, that was, something I saw in almost everyone I ever looked at under the microscope.
Could you tell what the heavy metal was?
Well, no, I couldn't tell exactly what it was. So we had other ways of determining that. But you could see the amounts of heavy metals in the majority of people was way and above beyond what it should have been, and still see is if I do this type of test today, I still see it. But, we've learned over the years that heavy metals is really unhealthy because it's immunosuppressive also. But heavy metals destroys our good bacteria in our gut. Heavy metals is the culprit for destroying our number one friend when it comes to immune system, which is 70 to 80% of our immune system is our gut health. So heavy metals is a big problem. And we're not talking about one metal or two metals or just metals in general. We're talking about mercury toxicity.
And lead toxicity, which is second to mercury, is what we're finding.
Yes.
And aluminum and copper toxicity, whereby you do need minute amounts of copper. We see a lot of copper toxicity that underlies mercury poisoning. You're also seeing cadmium these days and arsenic, because if you're a big wine drinker, you're consuming arsenic on a daily basis.
Oh, that's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, especially the best wines in this country.
All this delicious wine, it's not just the sulfites. It's much, much more, isn't it?
You're finding arsenic in rice, your beloved brown rice. In brown rice sweeteners, you're finding it in chicken. So this is a real global issue, and it's not a matter of eliminating the heavy metals from your diet, but it's a matter of making sure that your body can detoxify.
So
that's the key. But how are we testing for it these days? You see it under the microscope, but what do we do as a company? What does Unikey do to test for heavy metals?
Well, we offer a tissue mineral analysis.
Hair test. Why is hair good?
And so the hair is good because you want to catch it at the nape of the neck where it's growing, and get it down where it just first grows. So it represents what's going on internally more.
Exactly, because it acts as a tissue storage organ.
Yes, you're right. And, for years, we did a lot. We've done the tissue mineral analysis. And Ann Louise, what do you find in those analyses? Because this all goes through your office.
I'll tell you what I'm finding. You can't just do it once. You've got to do it at least 3 or 4 times, because the heavy metals do not easily come out. You don't excrete them easily. They're sequestered in the body. So you've got to do a tissue mineral analysis, get an analysis of what minerals you need to chelate the heavy metals, and then you do it 2 or 3 or 4 times. We see a tremendous amount of aluminum toxicity because people are still cooking with aluminum or aluminum foil. We see mercury, we see lead, and we see all that arsenic.
What kind of cooking pots should people be using?
Stainless steel. It's the only thing I can recommend.
Any other metals in the stainless steel?
No, 100% stainless steel.
100%, like surgical stainless steel?
Surgical stainless steel. Dr. Parcells used to use something called Royal Prestige. We now use Salad Master.
Salad Master, yes. And it's
everything else is questionable.
I mean, how many people do you see out there using this cheap cookware that they get, down at the
whole
discount store?
The whole world is using it. And I'm not a believer in cast iron either, because a lot of people are stockpiling iron.
Well, there's certain ones that are coated. Are those good? Like
I think they're better, but there's also some question about that. But that's a whole other discussion. Right now, the only thing I can 100% confirm with everybody is stainless steel.
And the cast iron's not good because of the excess
Iron.
amounts of iron.
We got rid of the iron, and your ferritin, your stored iron, came down 30 points. It was
Yeah.
because of what we were cooking, and even though it was well used, well seasoned, and well coated. So that's a lot of nonsense about using something that's been handed down, especially if you want to avoid being iron toxic.
Didn't Dr. Parcells used to say that the biggest serpent is in the kitchen? In the kitchen is your cookware?
She used to say she'd rather have a serpent in the kitchen rather than aluminum.
Okay.
But close.
But and the cookware, she talked about that a lot.
That's how I first became aware. I went home, and it was 1974. I went home and started to throw out all my mother's aluminum. She said, "What are you doing, Ann Louise?" I said, "I'm saving your life, Mom."
Oh, I can't tell you how many different pieces of cookware I've thrown out over the years,
Thanks to
especially
me.
after meeting you and Dr. Parcells.
Yeah, that's all you need. But it's stainless. Stainless is the only thing I can really recommend. And we're actually going to be inviting Lead-Free Mama, who's a woman that actually tests your pots and pans. She tests your plates. She tests all your cookware, and she's coming to our home very soon.
Oh my goodness.
I know that's something I was going to say for you as a little surprise.
Oh, well.
No surprise.
I hope we don't have to throw any more cookware out, because I don't know what else we're gonna, use, because the ones that we're using now are
Theoretically the best, but the only thing that I know from the latest research is stainless steel, 100%.
yeah, and surgical stainless steel.
You bet. And no aluminum foil. So what do we use instead of aluminum foil?
We use
Parchment paper.
yeah.
That's an easy fix.
Or you can use what else can you use out there?
Parchment paper.
Nothing else?
That's all we use.
I know, but is there something else people can use?
Nothing I can recommend.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Or use a pot that's got a lid that you can put. What about glass pots?
Most of them I think are okay.
Yeah, like glass cookware.
Better.
With a lid on it.
Yes.
And you can store it if you need to.
Tell us about all the mercury you're finding in the tissue mineral analysis.
We find a lot.
Well,
Nearly everybody has mercury, and Ann Louise, tell them out there about the mercury. What minerals do you take to help
Chelate.
nullify and chelate the mercury?
Selenium and sulfur are your best friends. So if you've had mercury fillings,
that's a big problem.
Which I've had 9 in my day, and when they took them out years ago, they didn't chelate them out of my system. So I'm mad as a hatter.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there that have mercury amalgam still in their mouth. To us, it's old news, but it's new news to a lot of people.
So you've got to see a biological dentist. We were very blessed because we saw the king of biological dentists. May he rest in peace, Dr. Hal Huggins.
Yeah, he was quite something.
We spent many a night on his couch.
Yeah, and you got to go to a dentist to remove these, because
the right
a lot
kind
of times
dentist.
You can't have the health that you desire until you get rid of your mercury.
Especially if you have thyroid problems like Hashimoto's. I think half of it is created by hidden dental infections. I wish the world would know that better.
And, I interviewed on Templeton Wellness, my foundation that I have, and I interview people that have had cancer, late stage cancer most of the time, people, what they did to overcome these cancers. A lot of people have survived many years, but I also interview the top doctors and practitioners that are working with cancer patients all over the world. And one of the doctors that I quote a lot, his name is Dr. Raymond Helu.
Oh, I'm a big
He said to me, and he's in Spain, but this guy is really, really very, very top notch, and he uses this live blood microscope in his own office.
He was a friend of Bob Bradford.
Yeah, and he's really kind of the master now, as far as I have seen out there now, working with this. But he said to me, he has never seen a cancer patient come to him that didn't have mercury toxicity. He said it's the number one thing that he has to deal with. But think about it. We've talked about parasites, we've talked about candida and fungus, and now we're talking about heavy metal toxicity. Think about if mercury and other heavy metals destroy your good bacteria, which is 70 to 80% of the immune system. Think about why you have immune issues, why you have a lot of these things. Could it be these heavy metal in your system, this toxicity that's affecting our overall health and immunity? I mean, it has to be, right, Ann Louise?
Well, yeah, we're walking toxic waste dump.
We're walking time bombs.
If you live on the planet, you're a walking toxic waste dump.
Yeah.
You've got to do something to get rid of those toxins.
So,
but you know what I want to discuss? The symptoms of mercury toxicity.
yes, important.
Dizziness, tremors, alopecia, the ability not to sleep, and hearing loss. How many of our friends have hearing aids?
Oh, lots.
Tremendous amount of people. Even
half of our friends have hearing aids now.
Unbelievable. And have they ever been tested for mercury?
I doubt it.
Well, here you go. Fatigue, hyperactivity, insomnia, kidney damage, memory loss, rashes, pains, schizophrenia, thyroid dysfunction, tremors, we talked about vision loss and weakness in the muscles. A lot of these symptoms sound very much like ALS and Parkinson's. So it's the great masquerader. You know, I just heard from an old friend. It has all kinds of maladies. He falls backwards. He can't walk straight. He has balance problems, vision problems. And I said to him, what have you been doing all your life? What have you been eating? He said, well, I'm a big believer in fish. So he was fishing in this Coeur d'Alene lake and eating the bluebacks, which are exceedingly high in mercury. The guy is now suffering from mercury toxicity, and he has what they call some kind of palsy, supranuclear palsy.
Well, you know, a lot of people love fish. I love fish. We love to eat it, and it's tasty, and especially living up here in the northwestern part of the United States.
So what do we do, though? We do something very special.
Yeah, you have to take something to help chelate it out on a daily basis. And
what do we take?
Well, we use something that we have here that's called the Unikey Health Daily Greens Formula. And this has a blend of 11 different greens. And this is a very pure source of greens. It's organic, and they're GMO free, of course. And these greens are just wonderful. They have greens in them like alfalfa and wheatgrass and barley grass, kale, parsley. And something very, very important is called broken cell chlorella, or cracked cell chlorella.
Why did we put that in there? It's a real reason.
It is
the chelator.
Yeah, and it's also copper free, which is important.
So it's going to chelate your heavy metals.
Yes.
How do you take this, James Templeton?
Well, you take it in a glass of water. I like to take it.
I put it in a smoothie.
Yeah.
I put it also in bone broth. It's delicious.
Yes, and you know, I take it twice a day a lot of times, and it's delicious. A lot of people don't eat enough greens, enough cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and collard greens and a lot, and you know, like other vegetables like cabbage and things like that. But this has a lot of these things in there, and it has oat grass also, and spinach and celery. It's just a delicious thing. It's very clean, very, very simple, but very pure. There's a lot of green formulas out there on the market that have everything in them, but the kitchen sink, you know. And no, and they've got all kinds of different things. The more is not always better. You know, it's having the right greens, and these are the right greens. I've done a lot of research with things, and Dr. Parcells once taught us that it's not having more, it's having the right things in a formula. That's important.
Well, what also is right is that this is actually a low oxalate formula. A lot of people are concerned about oxalates in this day and time, and we made sure that this is actually very low oxalate. So if you're eating a lot of fish, first of all, what should they avoid? Big fish.
Well, they should avoid.
Do we eat tuna fish?
Not very often.
What kind do we eat?
Safe catch. Yeah, safe catch. But you know, I try not to eat a lot because I don't know if I really trust the companies that market. the marketers are, they'll sell you anything.
But we do have a lot of halibut, which is considered a low mercury fish.
Yeah, well, up here in the Northwest, we like salmon and we like halibut, but probably not good to eat a lot of it.
Not
And
more
there's
than once or
other
twice a week.
chelators that you can use that work pretty well, that you can get through your doctor, natural doctor in some cases,
Which is
that DMSA.
You can get that online, by the way.
You can?
Yes.
Okay. That works pretty well. And
200 mgs a day.
yeah.
Keeps the heavy metals away.
That's funny.
It's
But I'll
true.
tell you, the greens works really well for people. And vitamin C works very well to help chelate the heavy metals
And
out.
extra selenium.
Yes. So, we with the hair analysis, we find a lot of this, and a lot of these are recommended. And all the hair analysis go through Ann Louise's office, and she looks at the analysis and gives you her feedback so that you're getting what you really need. You just got to stick with it, and you got to cut back on certain mercury mercury contained foods, that contain mercury. Foods like fish, especially. Fish is not necessarily something that you should live off of like people do. And I guess maybe certain types of seafood is better, right?
Shrimp, crab, scallops
What about lobster?
can be high in mercury, depending upon
Okay.
where it's caught. So that's why two scoops a day of the daily greens, DMSA, if you can get it online, and extra selenium. And I think our multi contains extra selenium. You need at least 200 mcgs.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, there's another product that we have that works pretty well for just getting things out of the system. And that's something called Super GI Cleanse. And the Super GI Cleanse is a wonderful product. Has 5 sources of fiber. It has an intestinal flora blend, a plant enzyme blend, and a natural colon cleansers to help remove the toxins out of the system, like buckthorn bark and cranberry, butternut bark, alfalfa herbs, and licorice root, and fennel seed, and peppermint, and anise seed, and Irish moss. And this is something I formulated because at one point in my life I was traveling a lot, and to be honest with you, I was a little constipated, and I couldn't move things out the way I wanted. So I started researching, and I went out and I tried everything out on the market. I go to the health shows, and everybody was saying, oh, they had this great colon cleanser. But most of the ones I tried, and I'm being honest here, I felt like, really not good at all. And I felt like I couldn't be very far away from the bathroom, and I just didn't feel well. And I just knew that, hey, if I'm going to find something really good, I'm going to have to formulate it myself. So I did. I spent about 2 months researching and working on this formula, and I came up with the Super GI Cleanse. This is something that's been around for years now, for at least 20 years. And it's probably the best thing I ever formulated, Ann Louise.
That's what you've always said.
And it's something that's gentle but very effective.
What particularly gets rid of the heavy metals in there?
Well, it's
besides the Irish
moss is very important for that, and the alfalfa is very good for that. Alfalfa is very high
and the
in
fiber,
and the fiber is good, and it's just a really good product, with a balanced fiber and nutrients and minerals. And a lot of people use this every day, including myself. And I'm telling you, will not believe how much elimination you have, and it's gentle, and it's just the way it should be. And you just feel like you've let go of an excess amount in your body that shouldn't be there. And it's just, you have more energy, you feel better, you sleep better, you're less bloated. I think that's one of the key factors. But it's also eliminating a lot of the heavy metals, is what we're talking about today. the greens and some of the other things that we've talked about are very important. And make sure and see a good biological dentist, not your regular dentist that's down on the corner that says there's no problem with mercury amalgam. Some of them are still putting them in. You don't want that. You want to get them out. You want to go to a dentist that knows how to do it properly.
Correct.
That uses a rubber dam in your mouth so that the mercury doesn't leach back and you don't swallow it, and and the vapors, and they're using proper ventilation to eliminate that. And then hopefully they're using some kind of an IV vitamin C drips after that to chelate the excess amounts that are left over in your system. So anyway, Ann Louise, what else should we talk about today?
Well, we know we're going to get rid of the parasites, number 1, the yeast, fungus, and mold, number 2, heavy metals, number 3, which means cosmetics that you're using on your skin. Make sure that they're chemical and heavy metal free. Make sure your lipstick doesn't contain lead, and make sure your hair dye doesn't contain it either.
So that's very good advice. And if anybody should know all about this, it's Ann Louise. She's done it for a long time.
Who tries to walk the walk and talk the talk. I'm exceedingly sensitive. I'm the canary in the coal mine. So if it works for me, it's going to work for you.
Yeah, why wouldn't it? It has to. And as I said before, the blood doesn't lie. So the things I've seen, from the parasites, the yeast, the fungus, the heavy metals are the top 3. I guess you could call it the big 3, right?
Big 3.
So anyway, it's been nice talking to everyone today. Thank you for listening. Ann Louise, it's always a pleasure being with you on these podcasts.
We've got to do more next time. We're going to hit, what are we hitting next time?
I don't know. We'll figure
radiation.
it out. Okay, radiation.
Including cell phone radiation.
That's a big one. Ann Louise wrote a book called
Zapped.
And she's an expert on that too. So check out Ann Louise's site. Check out her books. Check out everything she's done. Check out Unikey Health, unikeyhealth.com. We would love to hear from you. Give us your feedback. Share this with your friends. Thanks for listening.
Share it with your doctors who know everything.
That's true. Anyway, I guess we'll sign off for now. And Ann Louise, thanks again. This is James Templeton.
Ann Louise Gittleman saying shalom, be well, be healthy, be metal free.